Welcome to Hammer Rugby. I'm Rob Hammerschmidt. I'd first of all like to thank all of those of you guys who have checked in with me week after week over the past 11 weeks of Major League Rugby action. And for those of you guys who are new, thanks for stopping in. And hopefully the content provided here is to your suiting. This week, Major League Rugby, week 11, I'm going to touch upon the week because I think we're really starting to see a playoff picture emerge. So I'll hit upon that. But first, I want to address the anticipated announcement regarding the 2020 season. There's been some speculation on some of the Facebook pages. A lot of people are wondering what is going to be announced. And so I'm going to take my shot, put in my 2 cents based upon some of the things I've seen that are out there and some of the clues that have been left. So stick around and see what you think. First up, let's just sit down right now and identify what we know. We have currently 9 teams competing. Everybody competes against one another, both home and away. Next year, they're adding 3 teams to the East Coast. They're adding the New England Free Jacks, Old Glory DC, and Atlanta Rugby. Based upon that, I'm going to give my indicators of what I think is going to be shaping up in 2020. So what do we think is the big announcement that's due to come out? And I think it's going to come out this weekend with the matches going on. My suspicion is based on an interview with a Major League Rugby commissioner, Dean Howes. He did it at halftime of the Toronto-Utah match. He talked definitely about the schedule coming out. He did indicate that the schedule will actually start in 2020 a couple weeks later. How much later, we don't know. He also indicated that playoffs would be put off till later. So with all that, we know that there was a weather concern. Hopefully that delay with a couple weeks in the start of the season will allow the opportunity to eliminate some of the snowballs that we saw in Glendale and Utah, between Utah and NOLA. Rooney had some, cold weather during their first weekend, opening weekend. So we know that those are some of the things based upon the clues that Dean Howes left in that interview. But there's some other things that we don't know that are being speculated out there in internet land and on Facebook world. So let's think about what that might be. And again, I'll give you my 2 cents. Now that we know the things that are certain based upon Howes' interview, let's go for what is not so certain. The speculation is that the announcement with the new schedule that should be coming out, I would suspect this weekend, is that there's going to be a conference or divisional system. And a lot of the talk has been about 2 divisions. So you would have East Coast, West Coast, and in doing so, it would provide an opportunity for every team to play within their division, home and away, and then play out of the division once. I don't know about that. It does make some sense. My speculation, my guess, is actually a 3-division system. It would work like this. On the East Coast, you'd have Toronto, Rooney, New England, and Old Glory. In the South, you'd have Atlanta, NOLA, Austin, Houston. And in the West, you'd have Glendale, Seattle, Utah, and San Diego. Again, it would be a home and away series within the division, which would create 6 matches within the division. And then the remaining teams, each team would play each other once. So that would be 14 total games, 2 less than our current season. Add on moving up the season just a little bit, compresses the schedule, and I think allows for more flexibility in travel and alleviating some of the inclement weather situations. Regardless, whichever way they go, I really think they need to give some thought with expansion to the playoff system. What else is in store with this announcement? Well, I don't quite know. I think the challenge moving forward is going to be they're going to add Dallas. We know this. In 2021, it's going to add 13 teams. What is that going to do to the divisional or conference system just by adding a singular team? I think it makes it a challenge. My speculation is that they're actually going to be looking for an additional team to join in. A lot of talk I've heard on the ground here in Chicago. I've heard a little bit of rumblings about the Lions making a move. I've heard in St. Louis that the Bombers are making a move. There's even been talk of Kansas City. And the reason I bring up those names, quite frankly, is because we have teams in the West, we have teams in the East, we have teams in the South. We have yet to see anything in the Midwest. And I think there's ripe opportunity with some major cities in the Midwest to tap into and some good rugby, as well as some significant college talent at D1A schools that to draw from. And I think that the MLR is looking in those areas to grow the rugby base. So stay tuned. Let's see what happens. I suspect the information will be coming out this weekend during one of the matches. I sure hope it does. We can put to bed some of the speculation and just enjoy some of the matchups this weekend. And here's a quick recap of Major League Rugby action in Week 11. And as you can see, based upon the scores, tries were scored with aplomb. A lot of teams scored the all-important bonus points. NOLA was one of those teams. They kept themselves at the top of the table this week with a win and a bonus point. And they showed that, once again, they are an offensive juggernaut, scoring both in the forwards and backs. San Diego was impressive, scoring by well over 30 points against Austin Elite. Again, defense was key to their victory. They are one of the top defensive teams in the league at this point. Seattle had a nip-tuck affair to overcome Utah, and Glendale uncharacteristically gave up a lot of points. They were down by something like 32 points in the first half with 34 minutes to go, something of that nature. And they were able to come back, scored some tries at the end of the first half, and then kept the train going in the second half, ultimately winning 52-44. We see that this week's results didn't have much impact upon the table. New York slipped a bit. They went down to the third in points, but keep in mind they had a bye this week. Glendale, in spite of in a bit of bother there in this week's match, managed to get that victory, get the bonus point, and they squeaked ahead of New York. Seattle staying in the hunt, and San Diego, again, the team to look out for. I think they're on a resurgence as they head in the last 7 weeks, and they're right there in the thick of things. Toronto is an outsider chance. They're really going to have to go a string of victories. Teams will have to be on guard. Toronto actually had a sellout crowd in their first home match, which is exciting. They're getting the same kind of crowds that Seattle's getting. So look for them to get a couple victories against some of those top teams as they play host. If you like today's content at Hammer Rugby, subscribe, click like, or leave a comment for future shows. In addition, check out the 1014 Rugby, This Rugby, DJLCoilRugby.com, and of course, USMLR.com. Enjoy this weekend's contests in Week 12. I'll see you next week.